With his hands bound, he fought to keep his balance, allowing one knee to fall to the frozen surface. A blast of frigid air and a warm trickle on his calf said he'd sliced his pants and his leg. He looked up, hair swirling. Faces peered out the hatch of the hovering spaceship. He rose and lifted bound hands to give them a rude salute. The hatch closed. The ship ascended, and the blast from the thrusters swirled snow into a vortex around him. A cloud of white obscured his vision. The air threatened to shatter his lungs with every breath. A string of curses rested on his tongue, but he swallowed the words. The others wouldn't hear him, and besides, screaming was beneath him. The snow settled, and the ship vanished into the bright sky. In all directions stretched nothing but white, tinted with ice blue. Blinding sun glared off every surface. Many of those surfaces were sharp and pointed, a field of ice shards sharp as the old-fashioned cutlasses his people carried for fun and style. Not his people. Not anymore. The latest clenching in his chest wasn't from the cold. He shoved the feeling down. Vicari would pay for this. Digger hadn't spent years planning, working, scheming, and practicing to have his pirate empire stolen by a man with questionable style, a small vocabulary, and an even smaller mind. He kicked the nearest ice shard, grimacing a smile at the way it shattered. He twisted his cuffed arms to extract a metal wire twined through one of his locks, used it to pick the lock on his cuffs, then flung them as far as he could into the snow. Then he tucked his bare hands under his arms and started walking. First things first. Consider his assets. The leather boots and swirling calf-length coat gave him swagger and protected him from the damp chill of Star Harbor, his moon. But here, he might as well have been stark naked. One thing brought a smirk to his lips. The cutlass strapped to his back under his coat, which his traitorous first mate had let him keep. If the cold didn't kill him, and if he could find someone to help him, the encrypted chip hidden inside the weapon held the key to Vic's destruction. Or he could fall on the blade before he turned into an icicle, which was why Vic had let him keep it. But Digger refused to do Vic's job for him. If the man wanted him dead, he'd have to try harder than this. Time lost meaning as Digger forced one foot in front of the other again and again. With nothing but ice to fill his view, scenes of the previous days replayed in his head like a hollow film. The loyal men and women who turned on him, circling like the sharks that plagued his seafaring predecessors. After all he'd done for them, Gunner had been poor and desperate when Digger found him working off a lifetime of debts in a ration factory. Now he captained a ship. Yet the man hadn't hesitated to shove him out a hatch like garbage. The sting was sharp and icy as the wind, but Digger gritted his teeth and pressed, shaped, molded it into something hotter, easier to control. Gunner, Vicari, none of them. They weren't his friends, weren't family. He'd never been under the illusion they were. Wasn't that why he never shared plans? Always slept with one eye open. Constantly watched his back. He had much practice taking weakness, fear, hurt, and converting them to fuel to make him strong. He'd do it once more. Years of working to avoid being at the mercy of anyone, and now people who once followed him without question had been the ones to determine his fate. Well, he wasn't going down without a fight. Another one, since he'd obviously lost the first. This time, he would decide the terms, and they would be the ones caught off guard. And he would once again have his fleet, his power, his freedom. Each breath formed clouds in front of his face and drove daggers through his lungs. Numbness encased his toes, fingers, ears, and other rather important extremities. Despite his efforts to skirt the larger ice shards, they sliced at his clothes, ruining the bottom of his favorite coat. He hacked at them with the sword. Before worrying he might damage the blade and the hidden contents, so he sheathed it once more. How long did it take for a person to freeze to death? Or fingers to fall off? He'd never been so cold, not even living on the streets of Nicaea before joining the pirates. He hated